Good to see you again, and thank you for mentioning the good performance in third quarter and year over year, really showing the positive advancements in EBITDA margin rate and also executing across the board. There has been some lower activity levels, and clearly that's impacted some of the different peers we have across the industry. Our story is one of self-help and really the operational improvements we've been able to drive, and also the continued growth that we see in gas infrastructure. And from an IET perspective, our industrial energy technology segment, that's benefiting from new energy, it's benefiting from LNG, it's benefiting from the installed base, the upgrades that we can provide, and it's a very resilient business. And I'd say across also the oilfield services and equipment, we're more resilient, with the exposure being on the production side and chemical side, less exposed on the exploration side.
So Lorenzō, oil prices have slumped by 17% in the third quarter. How is this impacting your international markets clients in terms of their capex in the final months of 2024? And do you expect further cautiousness to set into their capex plans in 2025?
On the international side, again, we started out the year saying high single-digit growth for 2024, and we see that being the case, and we haven't changed our view for 2024. As we look to 2025, that is somewhat decreasing and decelerating. Still some single-digit growth, lower though than previously anticipated. Some of the aspect of economic growth being brought downwards, also some of the activity level and capital discipline. We'll see, it's still early. As we look at 2025 though, overall, we think it will be very much like what we saw in 2024.
But in 2023, Lorenzō, you predicted that the industry is at the beginning of a multi-year upcycle. Where towards the end of 2024, are you still convinced of this?
I am convinced that we're in a period of continued increase in activity, and also the opportunity to meet the demand that's required from an energy perspective is going to require that. And so you have to look at the longer term. You've got demand that's expected to grow of energy between now and 2040 by 10%. You're looking at gas increasing by 20%. You're looking at LNG increasing by 70%. All of this really meeting the growth of the global south, the continued increase in artificial intelligence, the usage from a data center perspective. And as we think about the population increasing, and just energy consumption continues to be growing as we go forward.
Lorenzō, moving on to the United States, there's a weak picture there that still persists. No recovery in activity seems to be in sight. What's the outlook for their drilling budgets moving into 2025?
It's again early days. As we look at 2025, we're seeing a decrease that has been witnessed in 2024. And for 2025, a flattish to 2024. There is rig productivity, and that's why the rig count maybe isn't necessarily correlated to the production. And we're obviously more exposed on the production side and the chemical side, not as much on the rig activity, which is one of the benefits of Baker Hughes. And then offshore continues to be robust.
Staying in the United States of America, despite slowing activity in the shale patch, output there has remained stubbornly high, close to record highs actually. Is that solely due to well performance, Lorenzō? And what are your expectations for US oil output by the end of this year and by the end of next year?
We're continuing to see advancements in technology, the application of technology, also the mature asset solutions that many are now implementing with regards to the usage of ESPs, the usage of chemicals. And so that allows the depletion rates to be mitigated and continuing to see stable production increases. At the end, you are going to need some more capital investments. People have been disciplined with their capital allocation. As we go forward though, looking at 2025, continuing to be a growth, but limited growth on the oil production from a shale perspective.
The slowdown in the US lately has given impetus to investments elsewhere in other areas, particularly in the offshore sector, which has been rising in the last couple of years. Give us more color to what you're seeing in that space, and particularly in deep water. Do you expect to see this momentum continuing until the end of the decade, despite the current weak oil and gas price environment?
Offshore has been a positive, and when you look at the opportunities of Guyana, you look at also Africa, Namibia now, there are several pockets of offshore activity, deep water, that will be good for the next few years, and we see activity being positive. We think it is range bound though. Again, we're not going to go through a super cycle, just given the costs and capital required for some of the deep water explorations. It's going to be relatively stable growth over the course of the next few years, and then it will plateau. And we think that it's going to be specific to certain basins where we know that there's resources available, and that's going to be able to replenish some of the other declines that we see globally.
So Lorenzo, moving to the region and particularly to Saudi Arabia, where there is a new focus on gas, they've set very ambitious targets on gas production. So how is this shift playing out for Baker Hughes in the kingdom?
Playing out very well. Again, we've set up a company as Baker Hughes that really can manage some of the changes. We are predominantly gas. We're weighted towards gas. We're also weighted towards gas infrastructure. And so as you look at the activity levels as they shift from oil activity to gas activity, we benefit also from the gas infrastructure that's required. Earlier in the year, we announced the Master Gas System Phase 3 that was awarded to us. We also continue to develop the Jafurah fields and continue to provide equipment as well as services. And so we're able to navigate as those shifts take place. I think in balance, Saudi continues to invest. It is a reallocation, again, that's from oil towards gas at this moment.
Staying within the region, maybe give us some color on major milestones in 2024 throughout the region, and some things in the pipeline that we could see in 2025.
The region's extremely important for Baker Hughes. We've set up a number of facilities, expanded facilities. We've continued our localization. It's one of the most prominent regions for Baker Hughes. We were here in Abu Dhabi last Friday, opening up a new facility for our surface pressure controls. And we, again, continue to look at the Middle East as being crucial longer term. You've got great resource base. You've got LNG also in Qatar, other areas, and our activity levels are robust and growing